How are we all doing? Strength Chat episode 77. It's an in-person chat today, and I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Ross Mackenley of Aesthetically Trained. How are you doing? Obviously, I think I've mentioned this every episode since I put it on iTunes, but for people who are listening on iTunes who haven't heard the previous episodes with Ross, spoke to him once before about basically getting in shape, and if you don't know who Ross is, 100% checking out his results with his clients speak for themselves, and as well he was a guest on the 50th episode. So since we last spoke, what have you been up to recently, working on? What's been happening?
Lots and lots of stuff. I think for PTs, obviously since the 50th episode was earlier this year, so been very, very busy with new clients. Just building really. I've been in Australia for a break. I had a month in Australia, trained out there. And then tomorrow I'm going to a seminar with John Meadows in Manchester, so keeping busy.
I think you mentioned, did you do a program from John before?
Yeah, I've done one of these programs before, done Creeping Death, which if anyone's tried that, and I've also done 28 Days Later, which is one of these other programs, and that kind of half inspired me a little bit, or given some of the ideas from my own 28-day challenge that I did with lads. Mine's probably not as extreme as his. I think his was I don't know, actually in some ways mine was probably more cardio, more fat loss. Okay. His was more weightlifting, heavy weight. I think he lifted weights pretty much every day on his. But yeah, he's a great coach, so I want to learn from him. So it's gonna go and do that tomorrow. 3 days at Frontline Fit in Manchester, which I haven't been to before, but it's supposed to be a good gym.
We were actually chatting before, and there's a few sort of like webinars that John Meadows has put out, which is quite a smart guy if you've not heard of him. But yeah, 100%. He's you can learn a lot from him. So open up to a little bit of a wider audience of listeners. For anyone who might not know who you are or have listened to the previous episodes that we've had, just want to give a little bit of a background to yourself.
Yep. Well, obviously, like Steve said, I'm Ross. I went to university with Steve originally back in the day, a long time ago. I think it was 3-4 years ago now.
Yeah, no, it's time flies.
Yeah, so I've got my degree in sport science as well, and since then I've ran a gym, managed a gym, been part owner of a gym in Leeds, and then now I just work completely online. So I went and started Aesthetically Trained a few years ago, and that's been going a while now. So I specialise predominantly in online coaching for lads. Basically, lads who are already training, who maybe go to the gym but don't know exactly what they're doing, and then I give them the program, the diet, and they need to get to that next level and kind of show them what they need to be doing to get in shape naturally. One of the biggest things, I think, what I do especially is that attention to detail with lads in the program. And when I was in uni especially, I spent thousands on working with coaches and trying to learn and master with predominantly physique based and making people look better. And I always wanted to know that there was a coach who cared about it as much as I did, or who'd been through the same thing as me. So let's say I might kind of specialising in natural lads who are obviously kind of primed for that kind of growth. Maybe it's lads who are already training, but actually if you give them a program, they get unbelievable results. So as mint as my results are, I think it's also for any PT listeners that I've got a niche or somewhat of a niche market, and rather than try to do everything, I just believe I'm trying to at least be the best at one area.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole point of the podcast, really. You know, I want to speak to people that are specialists in their areas, and obviously, you know, it is a skill that we've got. And when you're chatting about a little bit more in-depth knowledge of getting people in shape, a lot of people will come to you, and sometimes they'll think, "Oh, them results aren't, that's unachievable or anything like that." How much of it is, depending on the shape of the lad that's coming to see, how much of it is essentially just fat loss?
I believe, I know we're going to touch on this today, we've got some good topics, but I believe, and this is something when I've had lots of mentors over the years, and I've met lots of people and paid for coaching, both for business and for training stuff, and I've had conversations with coaches before when I've tried to learn, and I certainly believe the first we're in a privileged position, and that anyone that comes to it, we should be looking to help them in whatever that means to them. Yeah. So it isn't always about the lad who wants to get out for the first time or who wants to get absolutely shredded. It can be someone who just wants to lose a stone, or they just want to do, just something basic like being able to play with their kids properly or whatever. Now, what I specialise in, I would say, is physique stuff. Mm-hmm. But I believe as a coach, particularly with males, that's all I work with when you work with men, we should be able to help anyone. And certainly with fat loss, I always say to lads, I reckon if you give us long enough, I can get anyone shredded. But muscle gain, especially naturally, as I think we're going to touch on today, is a much harder process. It's still achievable, but it requires much more patience and sort of probably more realistic goals. A lot of the transformations that you see that are mine are fat loss based initially. Some of the longer term ones, which to the untrained eye or to people that aren't in the industry might not be as shocking, but certainly to me, some of my longer term clients I have more pleasure in where I help them gain muscle. Whereas the ones that get the most likes on Instagram, the ones that I'm kind of like known for, if you like, are these 28 days, 12 weeks where I'm getting people in like stage ready shape or helping lads get abs for the first time. So predominantly fat loss, but I know we're going to touch on muscle gain and get it out.
So with that, obviously, in terms of the fat loss of people getting shredded, because again, some people, it is based on the person, whether it's like say wanting to play with the kids, lose a stone or whatever. In terms of some of the clients that you work with, to some people just is it dependent on the person just how much they lose and when they end up getting in shape?
I think it depends on the tool you use. So I predominantly, for those of you who are new to me or what I do, I've got two forms of coaching. I've got my 28-day challenge, which is like here's the best way to get in shape. Here's your best route to getting these like shocking results in 28 days. It's not something that's very flexible. It's certainly not sustainable. I've been before. I'm not a massive fan of that word anyway. But we'll get to that. But what that does is it shows people what's possible in a very short time frame, and then they might move on to one of the other programs like a 12-week transformation. Now, how in terms of the individual and what stage they're at, you've got different types of lads. You've got lads who want something that's written to them, and they want something that's very specific, and then maybe he's willing to go straight into the longer term program because they're already committed to the process. Or you've got like your 35-year-old dad who used to be in shape in his 20s, but he's lost his weight a little bit, and he really thinks that at his age now it probably isn't possible to get in shape. So he's maybe more willing to try the 28 days and kind of not put his life on hold, but make a lot of sacrifice in 28 days, see if it is or isn't possible. And as I've shown literally hundreds of times, how it always is. And then go from there into something else. So I think the starting point and what the person needs, you should always try to guide them to the right plan. Obviously, there's the person's budget and what they want to spend things, but generally speaking, I think for me, the level I'm at in terms of the people I market to, it's lads who are quite serious, so they're happy. That's why they're at me. And then, certainly I work in a great gym in Cuthbert when I come to Leeds. I still only do personal training. I know yourself, I know Matt, a couple of lads. If someone comes to me and I feel like they're not really ready to work with us, or there's someone who could maybe do the same job or even a better job in some cases, which is more applicable to where the person, I would always send them in. We touched on it before, squat, bench, deadlift, your basic things. You need to know them first before we start getting into like how quick can you get in shape.
Yeah. I think the good thing I picked out of that is, it depends how committed you are. You can go if you wanted to do that, and it's like, I think everyone's done it. I remember I've done it before. Google the program. Yeah, I'm just going to use it. You can download programs, but the whole point of it is having a coach to help you steer towards it. And as Ross has said, the results that he's getting is from actually working with a coach, and depending on the person, I think it's good to have options. Okay, maybe that 12-week program isn't good for you. Maybe you want to dip your toe in the water a little bit. Right, let's do that.
And what you'll find is as well, some people might start one and want to move into do that. Yeah. Or they might just want to change up. Or as well, I think if anything in life, it's got a shelf life. But I've got some lads that I've done for 2-3 years. I've done them training, the diet, and I'm still getting results. You'll have yourself some other clients where you do a 12-week block with them and you think, actually, I've taught as much as I can. And that should always be the goal, is if they move on to the next person or with you either way, the better for the experience.
Yeah. It should be, I like to think of coaching, it's a little bit like, when you graduate from uni or school or anything, you learn, and then it gets to a point where, say you're seeing a coach maybe 3 times a week, you might get to a point where, you only need to check in maybe once a month, once every couple of weeks, because if as a coach we aren't teaching you how to, or we aren't making you learn something, it's a little bit like, well, what are we doing?
I think something I talk about a lot, and my mates at home that hang around with us, and I'm talking about coaching, I'm talking about work, is when people come to me in life, I guess, in general, if anything, with your goals and what you want, there's this gap, because where you are now and where you want to get to, I can guarantee you 99 times out of 100, accurate that I can give you the gap in between to get there, but it's what's actually possible for you, your schedule, and so many people think that they want something, and you've just got to be realistic and say, actually, that might be possible, but I can't put the work in to do it, so this is how much longer it's going to take us, or this is what I've got to do instead. There's no good doing a five-day a week, like a split training program, and only doing 2 sessions, because you're missing the chance to grow on the other days. You'd be better trying to do full body 3 times a week. I spoke about one of my stories the other day where it's finding the right program, but then it's also thinking, right, if you know that right now you can't fill that gap, if you can't put the work in, but you know maybe it's what's required, or you spoke to an expert who tells you, even if you can't do it now, if you really want it, how can you start planning for the future and allowing your time when you can, rather than just saying it's not possible for you, just say it might not be possible right now, but it is possible, and looking ahead at like, right, in the summer, I've got a 4-week block and I can do it, or a 12-week block, rather than just saying like it's forever, like trying not to speak in absolutes, look at when it can be done instead.
I think that's what sort of puts people off, puts lads off sometimes, being like, oh, I just won't have time because of work or misses or whatever else. But there is like the programs that you run and what you mentioned there is going to be time for it later down.
I've had lads, my coaching being online, if you for any PTs or stuff, you get in online coaching, you have any questions on it, you can always message us it. I've kind of transitioned into it pretty well, I think. I've got clients all over the world now, Australia, America, just signed up my first line in Mexico, so like all over, legitimately worldwide, as we would say, so, which is great. But my point with this is not just to tell you about that, which I'm proud of. But the point is my 28-day challenge, for example, my next phase of my program, and I had lads in Australia doing it in what is December hours, which is the peak, like the absolute peak of their summer. 40-degree heat, working on site, working 12-hour days, while working, one of the lads was working 60, 70-hour work weeks. I reckon they were drinking like 8 liters of water just at work. Not only that, I had two lads who were both doing it in Sydney at the same time, and they met in the gym, which is cool as well. I think it is the last thing. But my point there is that lad really wanted to get in shape. And instead of saying, I can't do this, it was, how can we make it fit? And in that scenario, the 12 weeks, he'd done the 28 days first, then we transitioned into 12 weeks, then we made it a lot more applicable to him, his schedule, his diary and everything, and made it fit perfectly. But he was really willing to do it. And instead of saying, like, I can't, it was more, what can I do? Like, no one ever in any training program, me, Steve, maybe it's pro bodybuilders, I guess that's maybe the difference, and pro athletes to some extent. No one ever has the perfect day every single day. No. You shouldn't compare yourself to your perfect day, you shouldn't compare your perfect weeks. You just need to be doing the best you can do in each situation and every circumstance every day, and do that moving forward, and that's what gets you progress. So I'm known as being quite strict, and certainly with the lads, it's in my challenges, I don't probably tell them that. I'm saying it needs to be perfect all the time. But in reality, this progress and the results you see, it's just about doing the best you can in that time frame. It's not saying, oh, well, if you're going to have 26 out of 28 days perfect, don't bother. It's right, and let's just work with what we've got and do the best we can, and that's what gets people results.
Main thing is, from that, consistency beats everything. One bad meal doesn't undo the 4 weeks of being really good. But equally, on that note, one good meal doesn't undo all the bad meals that you potentially have.
And equally, I think that knowledge and that attitude as well, and I kind of hold that back from certainly from my short-term clients, is that telling people that sometimes gives people who think they've got a little bit of intelligence or knowledge on the subject the logical reasoning as to why they're making wrong decisions, which isn't right either. So if you ever find yourself, what I say a lot, if you ever find yourself justifying or logically trying to explain why you're doing something, it's usually not the right thing to be doing. You should just be sticking with the plan. You can always look back on these things and try and make it better of a situation in hindsight or moving forward, but the best thing to do is to not fuck up in the first place.
There's he's actually again another chat that I had with one of my mates that work over in Steel Habitat in Liverpool. He mentioned something about cheat meals. Obviously, everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a cheat day on Saturday, and essentially a cheat meal just breaks up the consistency and routine of eating everything that you usually eat. The pros of the cons of it, if you like, massively outweigh everything else.
And it's known, and this is something that I've certainly done before. When I originally done the 28-day challenge, which I'll keep referring back because it's got two main things that related to relate with most lads. When I first started doing that, I actually done it myself for a competition, and I still had a cheat meal every weekend. But and this is one of the common things in where you shouldn't be misled with a lot of these people you follow on Instagram, and I try to be more honest about it, is that I was a footballer when I was younger, full-time, done that until I was 18, 19. It's not an issue for me to train 3 times a day. It isn't now. I've got my own business. I can do that. At the minute now, I'm trying to get leaner. I'll do at least twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. Not all weight sessions, but what I'm saying is for most people that isn't actually what's possible. They might see they're eating something on the weekend, but they're missing out those 5 or 6 sessions that they have no chance to do, and they might have burned 2,000 calories, which accounts for the cheat meal. So, this is my problem with a lot of stuff on social media, is that people are portraying this image of, and they're not being honest about it. They're saying like, oh, I eat this and I have such a flexible lifestyle, but actually it's Instagram people who might be doing training in the morning. They're just not telling you because they don't want you to know how hard it actually is. Or obviously the taking steroids, which is the elephant in the room. So
we'll sort of steer towards that now. That I think it's been a natural progression of how we've been chatting. Just a couple of things from that. Obviously, you mentioned about how committed people are. Why do you think people just sort of say, well, I won't do it then? I don't have time. Is it just excuses? Do you think they've not been had access to actually knowing that it is achievable?
I think it's known as possible.
Yeah.
This is the first one. I think it's always helpful to have people around you that's done it, or know people that have. It makes most of my referrals, I've got a marketing team now that work for us, and it's getting bigger and bigger, but most of my referrals are still with someone in their area, whether it's their friend or not, still might have done it. The lads that I've picked up in Australia don't directly know each other, the new lads now, but they've seen it on social media, they saw us who was in Australia. So that's how it grows. So knowing someone, I think, is always going to give you the belief. So if you don't know anyone in your social circle who's done something you want to achieve, you need to probably start trying to find someone that has, would be my advice, whether it's business, training, anything. But then in terms of saying they can't do it, fear of failure with some people that don't want to be seen to be trying and then not and then not actually achieve it. There's lots and lots of reasons. I think that each individual in themselves needs to get to the bottom of that and really look at why it is they don't want to commit properly. Sometimes it's that they don't want to be seen and putting their all in. Sometimes it's just that they want a shortcut. There's a lot of reasons. I don't know, what do you think, Lloyd?
I just find it quite interesting, because from obviously as coaches, essentially anyone that comes to us, we're here to help lads. Mainly speaking about training lads, but women want to get stronger, whatever. From powerlifting club that I run and everything. And really, I think sometimes people are just too scared to ask. Like, I know we mentioned there about you need a coach. Yes, you can be strict and that sort of stuff. But ultimately, like, how long ago did I text you to set up this podcast? Replied back. It wasn't like fuck off, Steve. I don't want to. Like other guests that we've had on, Ross has messaged me. As coaches, I don't think we'll ever be in a point to sort of turn around. And if some coaches are, that's why I asked the question of does it depend on the starting point of when you start? If some coaches are saying, or you've asked some people, it's like, oh no, come back to me when you're a little bit more in shape to be able to do it. Like Ross mentioned at the start of the chat, it doesn't matter what starting your point is, but it's managing those expectations.
I would never turn anyone away based on the starting point, but what I would do is try to get them the best person for where they're at now. Yeah. And if that isn't always me, or they're looking at something that's far beyond where they're thinking of, sometimes you can tell from the person that maybe talking about these massive goals, and it might be that actually it is possible for them. You can normally tell. That's why you have consultations. That's why you spend time to speak to someone. But there's other times where you think actually you've only just started the gym. You maybe need to learn the basics first. In terms of people not doing stuff now, there's this culture of like social media, especially like a pressure to succeed. Like people want everything yesterday. Like these social media experts and reality TV stars and people that are going on TV and then ending up coaching people are giving everyone these false opinions. Like if you think for a minute that most of these people know what they're doing, like you're wrong. Like normally they haven't got any sort of foundation or any sort of actual experience. Some might have, and if they do, I'll hold my hands up and say fair enough, like fair play here. But are they like genuinely experts in that field? Like are they actually going out and studying and willing to pay money and learn from other people? Because I haven't seen them in seminars or anything. I haven't heard of them being any of these things. And I like to think that I know enough people in the industry to know what people are doing, who and aren't working with certain coaches, whether it's for actually getting better at coaching people, whether it's for business. And a lot of these lads who you see on social media are known as being people that, they're literally just developing something that's designed for the masses. It causes a disconnect with people because people are following lads on social media and seeing the results that they've apparently got from the programs, when in reality it isn't. It's steroids, it's anything from in terms of diet. It could be taking recreational drugs on the weekend, it's stopping from craving food. There's a whole host of things that people are doing, and it causes this massive disconnect with the general public and lads thinking that it isn't possible. Or lads also, and I talk about some Instagram the day, is that people think that it is possible, but only with steroids, which is also just as bad of a scenario for me. It's one of them where some people give up and think, fuck it, it's not for me, I can't get in shape. And some people think, no, I do really want to do it, but if I do really want to do it, everyone's taking steroids in shape, which isn't true either. Realistic expectations. I had that come up one of the things the other day on our most recent transformation posts, 12-week one, like accusing the lad of taking steroids and stuff. And I get a lot of men because they get a lot of, I think they get, relatively a lot of people commenting on seeing them. But, this thing, if you've never been shown how, if you've never been shown the right way to diet, the right way to train, the right mindset, the right tools to see that put a transformation in progress, you're not going to think that it's possible. And even for us as coaches, our opinions of what's possible, naturally what's possible in general, is changing all the time. So for someone who's just like a lad, just a normal lad in his bedroom or whatever, like he's obviously going to look at photos, and it would hurt me as well. Like I'd be boiling if I was working hard in the gym, putting time in, following a shit program of someone who doesn't know what they're doing, putting time in. You probably spend money on it. If you feel like you're making an effort anyway, and then top it all off, you get no results, and you see someone online who's done it in less time than you and got 10 times better results, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? You're going to lash out. If you don't understand it and you can't have it, you maybe just can't afford to work with a coach, or you're just going to lash out. When in reality, the thing you should do is go out and try to learn about it and better yourself. And that's how obviously me and Steve started. But in the industry, it's just first for wanting to improve and want to help other people in what we both like.
Absolutely. Just touching on that with the whole social media side of things, and people's like taking supplements, steroids, whatever else it is. Where do you think this culture has started from? Because obviously Instagram now has blown up massively.
For me now, this is, I was speaking to my friend that listening here, there's a massive culture now of likes and views and people wanting to really be like as popular, if you like, as they can. And the first thing I'll say is the difference between followers and consumers is people who might follow you and who might secretly watch you and might be following your page. It doesn't mean that they believe what you say. It doesn't mean that they're ever going to buy anything from you if you're a PT. You better have a loyal tribe of people following you who have similar views and who you can actually speak to and build a relationship with, than 100,000 followers that you've bought or that's been generated through just liking photos of you with your top off all the time, or just clickbaity type photos that might build a following, whatever that means. But actually it's not really building you anything that's useful long term. People are addicted to this thing of getting likes on photos and everything else. And one of the trends I've noticed certainly in the last 2 years is a lot of YouTubers, a lot of Instagrammers, a lot of these reality TV people is they're either, you might assume they're taking steroids or whatever, it's not for me to say, but certainly now what seems to be more and more popular and even more desperate to get likes is that you're getting more and more people who've probably been taking steroids for a long time are coming out and saying they've started taking maybe a low dose of testosterone or a low dose of anabol or something. And what they're doing is they're trying to make the public accept that this is what they've been doing the whole time. But in reality, they've been doing full cycles. They've been lying to you the whole time, and they're like, oh no, I'm now going to try this low dose of this. And it's just the likes, it's just because it gets them off the hook, and everyone will be like, oh yeah, well, he's just started taking it, so it's okay. And he's been honest about it, so it's going to get loads of likes and loads of views. And then also, it's all it is just preservation of their own image and their own ability to try to make money. People need to try to see past it and think actually, I've got friends who take steroids. I've helped in the whole time I've done aesthetic training, and off the top of my head, probably about 5 people. Considering I've coached probably 500 lads or something along, you're talking it's at 0.1% or whatever. It's not something I can help with at all. I don't know anything about it. If there's anyone listening who needs advice and stuff like that, Jordan Peters, trained by JP, I'll say he's got one of the most readily available sources of steroids out there, and training in general. I like his training, but I know he puts a lot of information about that. There's another guy on Instagram called TM Cycles who's doing his stuff. You need to be learning about it. But from my point of view, if you're going to get into stuff like that, you need to think about where does it take you, why you're doing it, and why have we come to this point in the first place. What shortcuts are we trying to take? What's the reason that we're here? For 99% of lads, even those 5 lads, actually 2 of them competed I'm not going to actually say that because I don't know who it is. Two of them, I've coached a few competitive bodybuilders, but the point is, if you compete at a national level of bodybuilding, right, and you're in a non-tested federation, the reality is you're going to need to take steroids. If you've got aspirations of being a pro bodybuilder, you're going to need to take steroids. I'm sure that in rugby, there's a whole world there that I don't know about, but there's lots of people taking growth hormone and whatever else you get in that. So
some of the Welsh rugby team.
And that's it. I think if it's your career and it's your life, listen, everyone's making a decision. But what I'm saying is, for 99% of lads, what you want to look like is achievable naturally. It's just the time frame that you want to do it in, and people want to take shortcuts because to look like maybe a little bit what I look like, or certainly some of the lads I've coached, that's probably not a very, it's probably quite a short-term thing. It's probably very achievable. It's much, much more achievable with a small cycle, I imagine. Whereas for me, I've been training 27 now. I've been training probably properly for 13 years or 12 years. Now, I've not been brilliant all the time, but people don't want to put that time in. They'd rather just say, actually, instead of looking at it and saying, well, like he's done really good or whatever else, or the work that's went in, they'd rather not accept that it's possible for them. They'd rather say that actually the only way to do it is with steroids, and it gives them an out. It's much easier. It's much easier to pull something down that you don't like than to say that it's good and that you want to try to do it yourself.
Absolutely. It's funny. I was speaking to, it was actually a client. I think it was sometime this week, and it's like that Batman quote: people are scared of what they don't understand, and it's like what Ross was saying: know your why, and going right back to the start of the conversation about actually I just want to lose a stone. Actually, I just want to have a six pack. I want bigger arms or whatever it is. If you're like, for example, like back squatting, so I'll do back squatting to compete in powerlifting. However, some people have got dodgy shoulders. Right, we're going to do a safety bar squat or whatever it might be.
And my why, if you like, and this is something that we've kind of touched on a little bit, we've not spoken about certainly on the podcast before, is that when I was younger and when I was going through uni and when I was working with these coaches, and the reason that I know, and I mentioned to him before, he's not going to listen to this, so I don't care. But like, part of the reason why I say that is when I was in university, I paid him relatively at the time. I still think he's a great coach, but I paid him the coaches. Paid him and then realised that all of his coaching, a lot of what he was asking was about steroids, and I was natural, and I told him that. And my check-in form was asking like how much training, including all these things that I had no clue about, how much I was taking. I was like, mate, like, I'm not even taking anything. Why is this still on the check-in form? And it's probably in reality now, me being a coach and doing this now for a few years, it was probably just an automated form and not on there for everyone to fill in. But the point is, I always wondered when I was younger, and I've always looked at people and I've always thought myself, like, what actually is possible naturally? I have no problem, like I say, with steroids. It's what I have a problem with is people thinking that what they want isn't achievable, and also people who have maybe taken something that's claiming that they haven't, or misleading people from winning every game. You wouldn't get it in any other industry. You wouldn't get a doctor saying that they've got the qualifications but they achieved them or this sort of thing. You kind of, a lot of you are looking at people based on what they look like and then wanting them to coach you. When what you should be doing is looking at the results in the portfolio and their knowledge and seeing if their principles and what they try to teach you or what they try to coach matches up with what you want to achieve. What I would say, and this is what I've always tried to do, is that I mentioned before, honestly, the best policy I have coached a few lads that just take stuff like I say, I put it down as probably less than 5. I think it's probably about 5, but if you go on my page or if you look at my site, guarantee, I'm an honest lad, every single transformation that I've got, where it's side by side or anything generally that's on my website, they're all natural, all a macro versus natural. The idea is to show lads that, and if someone asks, to be honest about it, the last thing I want to do is for people who listen to this who know the lads that I've put for bodybuilding shows who actually, well, that's not true. That devalues your whole word, and as coaches, that's what you build a reputation on, and that's how I've got to where I am with what I do. So for those of you that are thinking, like, where am I at? What can you actually do? My advice, and I've got that many results, and this is what I say to people with the 28-day challenge, part of my commitment, or what I like to do is unless someone's got a really big problem with it, every single lad that does the 28-day challenge, the results have to go on my page. That's something that they agreed with at the beginning, because what I want is a portfolio of lads where some of the results are absolutely unbelievable. And you think, like, literally, fucking hell, how the man should do that? I can't believe it. Like, they must have cheated. They must have lived with that. Right. They're by the by, right? They're the freaks. You might get like 1, 2, 3 of them in an intake of 30. And they're amazing. That's the kind of results that I've got myself with my own training. My ability as a coach is, yes, those lads have done really well, but they probably would have done better because of work with me, obviously. But they probably would have got in shape with anyone. My goal is for everyone that comes with this to get some sort of progress, some sort of progression that they themselves didn't think possible before, and they walk away from the experience thinking, oh, that wasn't me, I'm so buzzing with what I've done. And what I'm trying to say here is, if you're not sure what's possible for you, go to my page, look at all the different results. There'll be lads on there where you think, like, he done me. There'll be lads who go, there's not that much change, he's better, but he's not significant. That might be you. That might be all you need to show you actually, look, that lad who might have only got a little bit of change, to him that might have meant the world. He might have only done that 28 days at 60% because he was a little bit scared to fail. And he actually didn't want to put 100% in. But by doing that 60% and seeing a small improvement, he was like, hey, actually, this is working. I'm ready to fully commit to it now. And then moving forward, there's these lads who've got better and better results as they go. And my best results now on the 28-day challenge, not the 12-week transformation. It's the lads who do what I call as like a full aesthetically training journey, where they come in, they do the 28-day challenge, they have a week off, and then they go into the 12 weeks. So you're looking at like 17 weeks of coaching. But that is, you use the term like it's life changing. Like that can be something that completely. There's a couple of lads recently that I felt. There's a lad called Tom Bull who was very, very, very much overweight, and he's still training now. He's still sending us photos of his progression. He's lost over 20 kilos, so like 44, 45 pounds, and that was over 70 weeks. But the point with him is he went from never going in the gym before, ever, to then training to now being part of his life. And those results, going back to just some of what I'm about to Steve, is that thing of where you're at right now. If you haven't got anyone around you, you need to go to hopefully people that you trust online, like myself, like Steve. Find clients that they've had where you know it's legitimate. Look at where you are and say, right, I look a little bit like him now. Can I just try and beat what he's done? Use other people for positive reinforcement and motivation and go from there.
It is ultimately, horses for courses. It's dependent on the person, and that's what I mean. I've seen a couple of transformations that Ross puts up, but then it's like, bloody hell, that's unbelievable. But like what you mentioned, if you put all of them up there, one success. Everyone's different. People lose fat at a different way, put muscle on a different way, respond to different types of training. It is dependent on that person. And going back to the topic of like supplements and steroids and that sort of stuff. Like some people have, probably most people will know somebody that has taken steroids. And if people, both me and Ross have mentioned there. If it's done properly, it's like with anything. If it's done properly and it's not causing disruption or anything like that, by all means go and do it. However, the issue that I have with it is that when people are, I'm just going to take this because I can't go doing all the training. And Ross touched on it there. If people are going to sell you something and say, yeah, this is what this, it's going to get you to where you want to be. But essentially, you're just giving them money.
Listen, like bodybuilders and people that are in the industry, some of the cleverest people you'll know when it comes to experiment with their own body, try this with themselves. I've got a lot of respect for the work ethic and the dedication that bodybuilders themselves put in. But if you are not a bodybuilder and you want to start taking bodybuilder like levels, like super physiological doses of steroids, then you're an idiot. Like it's not necessary for where you want to get to. Nothing in as well. It's like anything. You hear these people winning loads of money on the lottery and then losing it all. It's because if you haven't learned the lessons on the way to getting that money, you don't keep it. I know loads of lads who've done a cycle steroid and still look like shit now. And it's because they don't know what they're doing. Yes, they might look better short term, they might look better at the end, they might look better for the holder, probably end up with really bad side effects, gyno, acne caused by steroid, everything that you can think of could go wrong for them because they haven't put the research in, just wanted a shortcut. And it was all possible in the first place if they were willing to be open to getting the right advice and then applying themselves. Then yes, there is a chance that you might fail. There is a chance that it might take a little bit longer than you've expected, but you'll definitely learn a lot along the way. And I tell you what, you'll feel 100 times better at the end when you've done it.
Yeah, I think it goes back to that thing before of I asked the question of why don't people do it, and that fear of failure, everything. But hopefully, after chatting through that was the whole point why I wanted to set up this chat with Ross, is that it is achievable, and hopefully, a few lads will sat there and be thinking, right, actually, yeah, it's not.
100%. I literally put my name to it. Like that is my whole point of what I do, is proving what is possible naturally. That's what I say to lads all the time. It very much is, and if you get to a point where you feel like you've exhausted your natural potential, or you want to compete in a bodybuilding show, at that point, that's when you probably don't work with someone like me anymore. You move on to the relevant expert in that industry, and at that time, fair enough. in anything we do, you should just be looking to do the best by yourself and the best decision at that time, whatever that is. And if it's onwards and upwards with another coach, and fair enough, but don't be misled by particularly social media nowadays, or maybe it's what your friends are telling you. Always in anything, get an expert advice.
What do you think, just on that note about the social media side of things, what are your thoughts on sort of supplement companies sort of like advertising things that essentially just, you know...
This is, I mean, you know, with supplements like Steve suggesting now, people sort of advertise supplements or whatever else, is like, is that, and what I would get you all to think is that what got the person into shape in the first place? This is very similar. I'm against, like, if it's your macros, MyFitnessPal, I've supplementary before. I'll tell you why it is, and it's very similar to supplements. What got you in shape in the first place isn't the same as what's going to keep you there. So if you train really hard, if you diet down, if you get into unbelievable shape, then yes. And a lot of these people that you see on social media are using, if it's Fit to Macros or MyFitnessPal, for example, a flexible diet and going out eating shape, having a very wide and varied diet, and think, wow, he's eating all this because he's using his plan, which lets you do all these things. Two reasons. That, for one thing, they're doing that to try to get more people in, because the easier it is, the more masses that it caters to. Just like with supplements, by saying that you take this and it makes this easier, or helps with fat loss, or else, again, it's going to get more people in. No one's going to say, but you need to be in a calorie deficit as well, you need this and do that. But also, the other thing with all that is that the person is just trying, like I say, to make as much money as possible, and so is the supplement company. It's very easy once you're in shape, or once someone cut down, then yes, they can say that this method got them there. But we all know that really it isn't. So just think to yourself, like, is that actually what got them to where they are? Or is it just something that they're using now to keep them in shape? A lot of the social media people, especially, kind of away from supplements, but this thing of like flexible diet, and if you follow my diet plan, I'll give you your macros and things like that. They've spent years, the people who've sometimes competed, the people who maybe have a little bit of they're probably the same people that I'm talking about might be sorry, even if they're not, even if it was me now, I could probably eyeball my food. Chris Lowe's been on here loads, I know. He doesn't always weigh his food. Can you imagine how many times I have weighed my food? Do you know how much more likely I am to be that I would know how much like 200 grams of sweet potato looks like, or when I'm eating out? So think about the experience those people have got and what allows them to make weaker decisions now. Not necessarily weaker, but different decisions now. Those same decisions they're making are not going to bridge that gap for you. It's not what you need. It's just to get your money in and make it seem more appealable to more people.
It's like what you said about the training side of things. Like, it's got to the point now with the experience that you had, and it's like, right, you've got to a point now where you're what's the word? Like a trustworthy source of information, if you like.
I like it.
Yeah, you know, well, I want to value whatever. But that's where, you know, other people, these people that are on social media and stuff, they if they were just starting out, they're not a credible source of information. Whereas going back to John Meadows, massive amount of experience. He's been there, he's done it, and the following that he has and the information he puts out, you can be like, all right, he's been there and done it. Joe Bloggs, who has just picked up his level 3 PT, and all of a sudden has 100,000 followers, it's a little like, well, hang on a minute, who will be coached?
Listen, everyone's got to get somewhere. Like, it's not, you know, I'm not hating on people who's trying to get an industry. What I'm saying is, just be wary of people where the only result that I have is an N=1 study of the ones themselves. Yeah. Anyone can get themselves in shape. If you really, really want to do something, you can do the worst program in the world, but if you just keep yourself in a caloric deficit, train hard, and just eat the bare minimum using the basics, you're probably going to get in shape. But can you replicate that hundreds of times with people who are in a variety of situations and starting positions and get every single person results? That's what a coach does. That's what I do. And if they're not, and this is the problem with a lot of people in the industry, is that most people don't care about the lads, the lasses, the individuals who slip through the net or who they can't help. If someone pays them money but they're not putting in the effort, or they're not maybe the exact right fit for the program, the person just thinks, oh, well, that's their problem, it's nothing to do with me. And they might take on 50, 60, 70 people at a time, giving them a generic program, and they might even get 1 or 2 good sets of results. For me, that isn't coaching. That's what I alluded to earlier, and I went and met a lot of different people for business advice, for training advice, and that is my approach. And what I've always wanted to do is that everyone walks away from work with me thinking, well, that I give it my everything in mind, they learn something that made some form of progress. Most coaches most online coaches, most personal trainers aren't that bothered. And that's the thing, but for you listening, you're listening here now, everyone's got a choice. Like if you get your car fixed in the garage, you wouldn't go to one that you know isn't good. You wouldn't go somewhere. You wouldn't repeatedly go to the same restaurant that's got shit reviews or gives you shit food. So just don't, look into reviews, look at what these people are actually putting out aside from what they're trying to show you on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. And that what it comes down to, you've got to be invested in your clients, which I 100% agree. It was funny. I did a conditioning class yesterday, and I said, how's everyone feeling? And no one responded. And one of the blokes in class said, "Oh, it's because they're scared of you." I was like, "We might come across mean, but actually, we do care. We do care, really."
Yeah.
So just touching on to, I thought that was quite interesting. I thought that was quite good chat. The other point that I want to talk about, it's been obviously Boss has mentioned it the first time we chatted, and in episode 50 as well, is sort of the whole sustainability of things. And a lot of people will say, and people listening might have already done it as well, is the whole sort of cutting and bulking and that sort of stuff. In terms of that and sustainability, what are your thoughts on it, and where do people go wrong, and what would you advise with that?
Sustainability at first, like as a word, I've got friends, Chris absolutely loves it. I always refer to him and so anything to do with nutrition, Chris is always my go-to guy, always will be. But me and him have very different views and understanding it's because of the populations that we work with. So in terms of the lads that I work with, and this is something to consider throughout when you're looking at results as well with all the copies, that are you comparing yourself with people that are doing the same as you and they've got the same goals? So in terms of sustainability for Steve's clients, is going to be very different to my clients and vice versa. So it's to each person based on what their goals are. But for me, sustainability is now being used as an excuse for people who don't want to diet properly. It's people who are, they're looking for a way out of it. It's not sustainable, so I'm not going to do it. I think I said I used the comparison of us going to university isn't something I want to do forever, but I still had to go and do it. For yous out there that want to put on muscle, that want to lose fat, sustainability or flexibility is something that you can have once you've made progress, not before. A lot of you out there have had sustainability and flexibility your whole life, and that's why you're not in shape. You're not having anyone telling you no. You're not telling people that you can't have sauce, or that you can't have the full sugar version of things, or that you can't have a takeaway on weekends, and that's why you're the way you are. What do you want to do? Do you want to continue being sustainable and feeling shit about yourself and not in shape, or do you want to be told and actually make some progress? Everyone and everything has periods of push and pull, and times when you think, right, I can now really, really nail it down. Where, you might have time and think, God, I need to see my family, I need to spend time with friends, I need to not diet as well. And that might be a bit extreme, but listen, if you pay me to do a job, I'm going to make sure that I do it. And in terms of, what you want to achieve, would you rather pay your money and think, that was really good, and you get in shape, or you think that you pay and you had a sustainable time, but you look the same at the end? Yeah. You need to make sure that you're very, very clear on what you want to achieve and what you're willing to do, and is sustainability. If you're sustaining and you're doing the same thing that you're doing now, how are you going to make progress? The very sense of the word is that you sustain, it's doing the same thing. That's something that comes after a period of massive progression, and only then for me. My clients start off on a very basic program that only even get to go to carb cycling once they've earned the right to progress to it. It's not something that you just go, I just do what you want me, have a cheat meal on weekends, use high, medium and low days. You've got to earn the right to get some flexibility, and that's the best way to do it. And there might be other coaches out there saying, sustainable and I'm making slow progress. Yeah, that's fine. Go and work with them coaches. If that fits if you just want slow, barely noticeable progress, where in 6 months' time you've still paid the same amount of money, you've still invested time, you've still been going to the gym, you've still been doing some form of diet, but because you went a little bit more sustainable, the results that you'll see will be absolutely nowhere near. I'm not saying it's forever, but I'm saying that you need to be very, very wary if you're using sustainability as an excuse.
Yeah, there'll be the whole point, I wanted to have this chat is that I've had a couple of people come in and it's like, right, what training are you doing at the minute? Well, I do this and this training wise, and I take protein shakes and this, that and the other. But, it might be a couple of lads who are listening now, but they've been doing the same thing. Now it's changed for that amount of time. Sometimes it needs to be either getting in touch with Ross and doing a 28-day challenge to be like, oh, actually adding in a little bit of strictness, and then it might be like, right, now you're gonna chill out a little bit, and then when you've got the time to do it. But what's that? Einstein's definition of madness, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting it expecting different.
Year on year, you should be making progress. I like to think that you'll do that forever, but we're not that old yet, so I don't know. But like, you know, you want to be making progress, and you should feel like that, and that, you know, progress, happiness, and whatever it is, and that, and you should feel like you're making some form. A lot of the time, when people start high and they're seeing progress, yes, it might seem difficult in the beginning, but that progress is addictive. There's a lot of lads that message me, and I'm always looking at. I don't really like when a lot of people screenshot the evidence of their good work and put conversation on social and stuff. Like, at the end of the day, it's what we're paid to do. I should be doing the best job possible. People should be buzzing. That's why I like to think we're the best and we're trying to be the best in the industry. It's not something. It's something that I just accept as that we should be doing. Now, that progress, that thing of you thinking, getting a couple of weeks in and wanting to message your coach or just say to actually, I feel a lot better. Everyone gets that. Where people talk about sustainability and where people talk about the fear of sort of committing to something, it's normally before they begin. It's never once they're in it. Because once they're in it, it's normally that you're making massive progress. Normally, once you're in it, you think, actually, you know what, this isn't, even if it is a bad you thought, you think, actually, I'm making a lot of progress. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's also why everything I do, it isn't ongoing. It's 28 days, it's 12 weeks. I have got some ongoing clients, but even with them, I set very specific time blocks, so there's something at the end. A lot of it is sustainability. If you're doing something forever, then maybe it's fair enough, but you shouldn't be thinking about doing anything ever. It should be the next 12 weeks or 10 weeks I'm working on this, and I have a week off, and I'm doing that. And, you know, split your year up like that, and you could have, in a year, you could end up having 4 or 5 blocks of time working on different parts of your physique, and it makes a massive difference, as opposed to waiting for the perfect time, you know. And with what, as well, the other thing I want to touch on, and showing again, is in terms of cutting and bulking, this is kind of changing the subject a little bit, but it's known what sustainable is or what the right time frame is for that goal at that time. So we know that fat loss or cutting is a much quicker, can theoretically be a much more aggressive process, whereas muscle gain is going to take a lot longer. So you need to be setting plans and working with coaches and creating a format and something that works based on that. There isn't a 28-day guide to muscle gain because it isn't a thing. You know, and that's what I think, you know, Steve's got some questions that we'll talk about where, you know, short term, it might appear in some of these results you see that someone gained muscle in a short amount of time, but actually what you're looking at is someone who's improved their posture, they've improved the fullness of the muscle because they've been training it for a full range of motion, they've been doing proper sets and reps with time under tension, which is causing better fullness to the muscle, and it's full of muscle glycogen, it's full of glycogen by the time you get to the photo at the end because you've caught them up properly for the photo. There's a whole host of things, and it's sometimes an illusion that people gain muscle in such a short time. So pick goals and the idea of the approach based on the time frame you've got and what you actually want to achieve.
Just on the topic of people are, I'm going to be on a bulk, and sometimes people just end up putting fat on, and they won't actually look as though they put muscle on. In terms of actually what you would expect a time frame and actually putting an amount of muscle on, what sort of should be a realistic expectation with people?
Do you know what? This is something I had a good conversation with one of my friends. Trains a lot. If you follow my Instagram, a lad called Jack, and me and him training together for years. And he was typically a skinny lad at school. And with him, he's got to a point of his body weight, he's about 80 kilos, and he's in good shape. But what I was saying to him is, and this is the difference, and this is what you got to think about as you're listening, is at what point are you comfortable and happy with your physique? There's nothing wrong with that. For me personally, and this relates to the goal setting, I want to continue to improve year on year and push boundaries of what's possible naturally. To do that, I have to be willing to get uncomfortable. So what I expect and what I want from myself is very different from what I expect from more people. Not that I'm any different to you, my goals are and what I can do in the time frame. It's not, anyone could do what I could do if they wanted to do it, but not many people really do, and not many people are willing to get uncomfortable. I think that's why I do have a lot of respect for bodybuilders. There's nothing worse than feeling fat. I went to Australia in April, right? I probably looked in the worst shape I've looked in years, but it's with this longer term goal of doing the best I could for summer. So from my point of view, when you're setting the goals, 6 kilos in 10 weeks, a stone in 10 weeks of muscle gain, I think is good. Some of that's going to be fat, but really muscle gain could potentially be a much longer process. I believe in set points in your body. Like I think that your body will hover around a certain set point. For me right now, it's about 96, 97 kilo, which for a natural lad, I think is quite big. And for the level of leanness I am. But the thing is, that took me a long time to get to that point. What a lot of you do wrong in terms of time frame and setting goals is that you do cutting and bulking. It's almost like a month by month process, and you'll change every month what you want to do. And what that means is your set point never really changes. You only really look a little bit better, if at all, and you're just constantly cycling through these processes, and you're not seeing any massive gains over the year. Once you're, this is what I said to Jack, my friend, is once he's at a point, and once you're at a point personally where you're actually comfortable with your body and you're not willing, theoretically, to get that uncomfortable, what's required to get to that next level. So I was willing to go to Australia, I was willing to get the meals in, I was willing to eat 2 mains sometimes and 2 starters and whatever else, and whatever, because I was like, I'm going to try to get much bigger. So that when I cut again, I want to be lean at 90, 92 kilos. If I'd stayed the same and I'd used a slow approach and I didn't move the set point, or I thought, actually, I'm going on holder, which is what a lot of you do when you go on holder, I'm going to do like a little mini cut. How much sabotaging or undoing of the work that you've been doing are you doing by doing those little diet breaks, by doing that mini cut, by doing that reverse diet or that time off of your diet? When in reality, you could say, right, it's going to be uncomfortable because I'd rather be a little bit leaner. Or you might equally be saying when you're dieting down, you might feel like you're getting smaller. That's normal when you're dieting down. The amount of people that diet down and say that they need more carbs or they're feeling flat, so you should. No one cares what you look like 3 weeks before your photos. No one cares what you look like a week before. The only thing that matters is the photo at the end. But once you're happy at the end and you finish the diet phase and you gain, then you go, oh, actually, I've earned some flexibility and sustainability. Be very, very, very clear on where you want to end up. Then also, this will probably be the gap. Be very, very aware and try to be honest with yourself. What are you actually willing to do? Because it can be very, very different things. I think once you're clear on those 2 things, you can set much, much better goals with both muscle gain and fat loss.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it's playing the long game from a strength point of view. You know, competing powerlifting. I'm a lot stronger than I was 3 years ago. Like to say I wanted to squat, bench, and deadlift this amount, and then to look at the people who are stronger than me. They've been doing it, a little bit longer and progressing through. So hopefully that's sort of I try to cover topics that I hear lads speaking about and sometimes can get a little bit misled, which is exactly why I wanted what's on the chat. So from everything that we've chatted about, what would be, I know you've touched on it a couple of times, what would be your take-home points? Words of wisdom for everyone listening.
Bare wall wisdom. Don't pause this. Do it. See us walking my dog.
Even if you just want to see the dog.
Talking shite. But if you do follow us, if you've got any questions for that, I'll always convert. I've also got a free Facebook group before we're going to end, which is called Aesthetically Trained Academy. So you can search that on Facebook, completely free. I do like little live Q&As for that every week. So you can ask stuff just like this, and you can get Steve to come in there with us. Some can answer questions for the lads there. But to sum up, and what Steve said, I think that all of it and everything we're doing, you need to have role models or people around you who've achieved what you want to achieve. Set goals based on that, not what the naysayers around you are trying to tell you or what you might have previously thought possible. Look at someone who's at a similar starting point to you. Go and find a trustworthy source. It may not necessarily be me. You may not agree with some of the stuff I'm saying. That's completely fine. But go with the person who best fits your ideologies and what you want to achieve, and look at what they've achieved with previous people. And it is possible, naturally. It might take you a little bit longer than you thought. In some cases, with the right help, it might take you a lot less. You might achieve something, as, like I say, hundreds of lads like me that didn't think was possible. But until you try, until you seek out the information, you're willing to get a little bit uncomfortable, you're willing to ask the questions. And what uncomfortable is to me and you and everyone is different, but you have to be willing to do it. You have to be willing to ask the question, you have to be willing to reach out for help, you have to be willing to watch the videos or put the research in and do whatever you can do at that time. It may not be investing in a coach, it may be watching stuff like this, taking notes, reading things online and making a plan based on that. That's what I used to do when I was younger and I couldn't afford to work with people. The point is that wherever you're at, just do the best you can right now until that changes. As long as you keep doing the best you can, you'll keep making progress. And like I said, the main thing is it's definitely possible actually.
Absolutely awesome. Every time I've chatted to you, really enjoyed it. And it's not just from a client's point of view. I know from me as a coach, following the work that Ross does. There's another lad called Matt. Chris Lowe has been on. Chris Kershaw, he's doing stuff. Everyone I've chatted to, you want to have a look and be like, right, what are they doing and progress as well. So it's not just in terms of as a client, us as coaches are wanting to progress as well. Obviously, you mentioned about the Facebook group, but where else can people find you? And have you got any courses coming up? Or
Best way to get in touch with us, Instagram or Facebook, Aesthetically Trained. If you're not sure on how to spell that, most people aren't. I'll just go on social media and you'll be able to find us. My website, aestheticallytrained.net. I've got the .com as well, but we use the .net mainly for the promotion of my challenges. So my next challenge, the 28-day challenge, that opens on Friday the 7th of June. And it'll be starting on Monday the 17th. So as I said, following up with what I said, I only run them at certain dates. This is my last one for the summer. And then I'll be reviewing, having a couple of months off, and I'll be back in August. Other than that, that's the first and starting point of working with us. If you get in touch with us and apply for the 28-day challenge, I think you'd be a better fit for something else, I'll tell you. But yeah, that's certainly the starting point, and I'm always happy to ask questions and speak to you on social media, so get in touch.
Awesome. 100%. Get in touch with Ross if you've got any questions. Obviously, I'll be sharing this or message on the strength chat or anything. Both of us as coaches are happy to help. I hope all lads listening, if there's been a little bit of the feel like you felt like you've been a little bit misled, or we've steered you in the right direction a little bit more. Hopefully, this podcast this chat has helped. So thanks a lot for listening. Thanks to Ross for taking the time to chat, and I will see you all next week.